Welcome everybody, Souldin of the Grin brothers here, and it's time for another episode of Tea Time. For today's tea, it is the return of gunpowder, this time though, with milk. It says to have without milk, and I'm pretty sure this may not be the norm. It's most likely not the norm. But I'm trying out milk because I've tried out all my other green teas with milk. I usually like them with milk. So I'm trying out gunpowder with milk. I can't remember what gunpowder tasted like. I remember it being very, well, explosive. You know, unintentional pun as it were. Any case, today's tea time is following that of the Splatoon Nintendo Direct. And for good reason, because this tea time also covers the topic of Splatoon. I stayed up because the UK times for it were like 4 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, May 9th. But I stayed up till like 4 o'clock in the morning to try out the demo of Splatoon. And I proceeded to play each and every single one of the other Splatoon demos, because there was 3 hours sessions of Splatoon demos. So 4 to 5 on Saturday in the morning, 12 to 1 and on the same day, and 8 to 9 again on the same day. And I managed to play through all 3 of them. So here are here's my first impressions of Splatoon, and my second impressions of Splatoon, and my third impressions of Splatoon. My impressions of Splatoon. That'll sum up the title nice enough. So then, what do I think of the game? It is awesome! Oh, that went really high on the sound recording. Yeah, Splatoon was awesome. It is a ton of fun to play. Start off, I managed to get connected immediately on my first time. It's funny, I had barely any problems with the internet connection on my first demo time of Splatoon, and it was only the second and the third times where I've actually had some internet connection issues. I'm guessing given that it was like 4 to 5 in the morning, or I think in the US it was like only 8 to 9 or something like that, there weren't as many people on in the first session because the internet ran perfectly fine in the first session. In any case, starts off with a nice little tutorial which manages to explain through the controls really well. It's a good thing to have the tutorial because it's a little bit odd using the gyroscope on the Wii U gamepad at first, and yet while it's odd at first, it is perfectly smooth and works incredibly well. And any time that the gyroscope ever goes wonky, you just click Y to reset it. Dear gosh, I wish Skyward Sword had that for its motion controls. Just a single button press. Oh, it's fixed again. That would have been helpful. Yeah. Gyroscope controls work brilliantly. It's really nice to move the gamepad around to do the shots, and you can use the right control stick to aid in it as well. So a combination of the two works perfectly. It's real easy to sort of like control the slight actions with the gamepad, and if you need to like turn your entire character around to use the right control stick. There are 4 weapons available in this demo trial. Splattershot Junior, which is like a pistol. The Splattershot, which is basically like a rifle, I guess. The Charger, which is a sniper rifle. And the Roller, which is your melee weapon. Now, as it's usually the case for most games for me, and the fact that I'm not a big fan of shooter, I have a natural affinity for the Roller. I love the Roller. It allows you to cover a lot of ground really quickly, which is basically the main point of the game. So I like using that for that effect. I like to go to the areas that the other players look to not be going through, and try to find the areas which allow me to invade the enemy's area easier and just cover all my area first. Sort of start covering your side of the map, and then use the area that you have covered, which is in a good position to get to the enemy spot. For instance, there's 2 stages available, Walleye Warehouse and Salt Spray Rig. On the first game session of me playing, on my first demo session, I was literally stuck on nothing but Salt Spray Rig, with the exception of 2 matches on Walleye Warehouse. Walleye Warehouse was the 2 Walleye Warehouse areas were the only ones I lost. I did brilliantly on my first time playing. Not quite as well on my second, third time playing. I think other people started to get a bit better. I think I caught onto the game fairly quickly. But I don't think I improved enough to catch up to everyone else catching up on me, as it were. Not catch up to them, as in to excel beyond what they're caught up to quite quickly. So it started to become a lot more even and a lot tougher, sort of in the later games for me. But yeah, in the Salt Spray rig, which I got to memorise quite a bit, I'd usually go for the far right or far left area, depending on which side I was on. Cover all that area as much as I can, and there's this little sort of climbing area. Now, the roller's not got a natural affinity for doing the climbing sections. However, you do have a bomb, like a time detonation bomb, sticky bomb, because it sticks into the balls and such, which is very effective for covering it, so you can then turn into a squid, climb up to the very top, and that gives you a perfect vantage point to jump down into the centre, where there's usually one other person usually there, so you can quickly slam onto the head, and then cover the big large area to the back of the thing. And with the roller you can cover all that area without being bothered for a long time. And by the time you've covered even a small part of it, you've got your super weapon. And the roller's super weapon is a killer whale, which allows you to wreck everything. Yeah, pretty brilliant. I've heard some people complain about the unfairness of the roller. I do see that it's a very easy to use weapon, and other people's comparison to Little Mac is very well done, because it does have some clear weaknesses. Two rollers, if they hit into each other, they're both going to die. That's usually what happens. To take down a roller, what you usually need to do is just walk backwards as you shoot. Not usually the hardest to sort of take care of, but the thing is the rollers cover a lot of ground, and as such they're to turn squid and sneak. Rollers are actually very good for getting away with, because again, you usually covered a huge amount of area, and so you can quickly turn squid and run backwards, or swim backwards through the ink. But enough of the roller. I tried out the other weapons. Splash Rod Jr. is probably my next favourite. Sort of. Not really liking the Splash Rod Jr. itself per se. Despite it being smaller, I kind of feel like it stores more ink. I don't know, I just felt like I was getting a lot more shots off and then covering a lot more ground with it. However, the Splash Rod Jr., the main... Oh, sorry about the rumbling. Not sure what's that. My dad's working outside at the moment, so he's probably got the mixer or something going. In any case, Splash Rod Jr. Pistol, basically. What I really liked about it was the super weapon it had, which in this case was shield. You'd basically just wait until you get your super weapon ready, then charge straight into the enemy, activate your super shield, or preferably charging at say a roller or a whole gang of enemies, and you can just go crazy, because for the next 5-10 seconds you can't be hurt as you've got that super shield up. It's rather unfair actually, although in later games I found out that unless you actually managed to hit them, it ran out rather quickly, so it's probably less than 10 seconds. But if you're against a roller, they usually don't dodge quick enough, because they think, oh, we can just run into you, because that's the main roller strategy. Run into everything! The standard rifle, I felt it was decent enough. Its ultimate weapon is basically just, or at least in this case, because I imagine the weapon sets will be different. There'll be many different weapon sets, which still allow you to, say, use the standard rifle or use the standard roller, but with different sub-weapons and special weapons. The special weapon for the rifle was basically just a great thing to cover areas with. Ironically, though, that's actually doesn't really work quite as well for the whole way the game's set out. With the other weapons, you cover ground and sort of try to avoid the enemies and cover ground first, or at least that's what I did with the roller. And then once you got your super weapon, you go straight to where the enemies are, because then you've got a weapon to take care of them, and then once you've taken care of them, you can start covering up their areas. It's kind of like the reverse in a sense, that you'd want the Molly War Balloon throw. Although it can KO enemies, it's not very good at it. So you'd really want the Molly War Balloon throw from the offset, because it's more for covering the ground rather than destroying. So, but to get it, you need to cover ground. And finally we have the Charger, which I'm no sniper person, so I'm not good with sniper rifles or gun or sort of long distance guns. I used it well in Watch Dogs of all games, mostly because the fun of Watch Dogs I found was getting an area, laying it with tons of traps and bombs, and sort of blowing everyone up without them usually seeing you. But in this game, no good with the sniper rifle. I just kind of sucked at it. I did like that they had the regular bomb, which I felt was better than the sticky bomb. For the most part, because it's great because I usually end up in such close quarters combat, particularly with the roller, that it's better if I have an immediate activating bomb than a timed sticky bomb. But yeah, not really very good with the charger. I ended up liking Salt Spray Ring quite a lot because of the sort of big area it's got to the back. It's a nice design map. Walleye Warehouse didn't really have much of an affinity for it. Could possibly be because I got to play it so few times and I kept losing on them for the most part. So I mean, I got to play them a lot more often in second and third game. But yeah. I had a lot of fun with Splatoon. It's crazy, it's chaotic, and it usually works brilliantly for the most part. There's like 2 times I had a bit of paint lag, ink lag as it were, where the ink wasn't appearing, so I kept splatting the same area for like 5 seconds, and then suddenly all this ink appeared. It's like, what? And I had 1 or 2 connection issues trying to get into a game, but the thing is, waiting for the games is actually not that big of a problem because you've got the little arcade mini game, which is fairly fun. It kind of feels like the sort of like small, simple sort of like mobile game that Nintendo could possibly bring out. However, I mean, from the looks of it, all of the arcade Splatoon games are like that. So if Nintendo, who are apparently wanting to have 5 mobile games out by April 2017, or was it 2016? I think it was 2017. If they want to have a quick sort of port game to go onto, which wouldn't be much trouble, they could literally put all of the Splatoon arcade mini games onto a mobile and have it as a collection thing, because they're pretty fun and they're a nice sort of like, oh, I'm good for playing this for like a minute, because usually you only have to wait. At most, I think I only waited for like 3-4 minutes, maybe 5. Didn't take that long. Well, there was one time where it took a little bit longer than that, but that session ended up stopping because of bad internet connection. Any case, the game is just terrific. The weapons were nice and unique from each other. I mean, even the Splatshot Junior and the Splatshot felt very unique from one another. Getting the sub-weapons and special weapons is a lot of fun. Covering the areas with ink is brilliant. And being able to rocket to your teammates and call out for help, they're all pretty nifty features that I feel work brilliantly. It's a great use of the Wii U gamepad, I'd say, as well, because the slight gyro sensing controls work brilliantly, and the seeing the map and sort of getting to your allies, also brilliant. I'd say one thing I do think that would be nice would be if the D-pad had more of the sort of voice commands. There's only come on and nice. Sorry, here and nice. In America, they've got come on and booyah, but for the Europeans, it was here and nice. Not sure what they'd do so much with the other commands, because the here is not very specific for, you know, whether it's here, I'm in trouble, or here, there's areas to cover here. I think, you know, it'd be nice if there was a difference between the two. And maybe one saying, I've got a super, or I'm in position, or something like that. You just sort of four commands on the D-pad, work brilliantly. And, you know, for all the people complaining about lack of voice control, you do not need voice control for this. I mean, here and nice cover up a nice amount of the things, as it were, anyway. But you just see what area someone's covering and then just take a different area. It's really simple. And if you see someone in trouble or manage to see someone in an area covered by ink, you just kind of warp over to that area, just super jump to it. Yeah. So yeah, I'm having a ton of fun with the game. I feel maybe the Inklings could be customized a bit more. I mean, at this point we're not able to customize clothes, but maybe customize the character. But otherwise, I had a great time with the demo, and I was glad I played through all 3 sessions of it. My only problem now is I have to wait till like the 29th before I get to play this game again. I don't want to wait that long. Now to try out my tea. Oh gosh. Gunpowder with milk was not a right combination. This is a very bitter tea, which with milk doesn't make it any sweeter. That is odd one. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the Splatoon demo. And I hope any of you who managed to play it also enjoyed, because I had a ton of fun. Looking forward to the release of the game on May 29th. And cheerio, everyone! Bye-bye.